While kayak surfing in Florida, this innocent man's day took a horrifying turn when he was unexpectedly attacked by an aggressive shark. Originally, he can be seen simply paddling around trying to find the next wave to catch when the unimaginable happens. Trying to process the situation, he carefully observes his paddle to find out what that could have been when the predator strikes again. Now full of adrenaline, the man immediately begins paddling away as fast as he possibly can and eventually makes it back to safety. In Gansby, South Africa, YouTuber Ehab Tuji and his friends were cage diving when they witnessed something completely out of this world. Having spotted a great white shark not too far away, they attempt to lure it closer by hooking a piece of meat to a rope. The great white is indeed nearby, but it isn't very interested in that small piece of meat floating around. It tries to bite off the metal bars a few times, but thankfully fails in doing so. The predator gives up on its hopes for a nice meal and turns away to swim back into the depths of the ocean. Just thinking about what could have happened if those metal bars hadn't resisted that shark's bite gives me the chills. Would you ever go cage diving with sharks? I don't think I would. While exploring the sea, this scuba diver had a close call with a great white shark that left him startled for quite some time. At first, the man who is armed with a spearfishing gun is seen swimming around the waters without any disturbance. After a few minutes, though, things take a truly shocking turn when he unfortunately becomes the target of a great white shark. With his heart beating at full speed, he does everything in his power to fight off the aggressive and most likely hungry predator. After the encounter, the startled diver quickly alerts his fellow divers of the shark's presence, and they all return to the safety of their boat. While offshore kayak fishing, this man felt rather optimistic after noticing something pulling on his fishing line. Although quite heavy, he still tries his best to pull up the unknown object, but what rises to the top is not what he expected.
Whoa!
Now in utter shock, he desperately rolls back his line and proceeds to turn off his camera altogether. On a nice day in Australia, a man's average kayak fishing trip quickly went south when he ended up being relentlessly chased by a hungry great white shark. At first, he begins recording after unfortunately spotting a shark fin poking out of the water just a few feet behind him.
Hey Dad, come here please. He's chasing me. He's chasing me. Chasing me!
With the hungry predator still pursuing him, he eventually gets back with his friend and does his best to scare it off.
Oh, she's very interested in me. Holy shit, that's a big white. Dave,
For the next few minutes, both men try to stay together and do their best to keep an eye out for the shark, just in case. As the animal appears to have thankfully lost interest, the men simply decide to stop recording and go on with their day. This man was out calmly exploring the sea life when he was visited by a huge great white shark, and the outcome is chilling. The video starts out with a diver who is taking a swim, pointing his spearfishing gun at the animal right below him. In an unfortunate twist, the predator notices the man getting closer and now starts swimming in his direction. To scare the approaching shark, the visibly nervous diver now tries poking the animal with his spear gun multiple times. Having survived the close encounter, the man finally returns to his boat and sits in utter disbelief. This intense clip starts right as a huge great white shark suddenly charges a lone man trying to cage dive in peace. After the collision, the frightened diver is immediately shoved to the back of the cage, which most likely saved his life in that moment. Luckily for him, the beast does not persist after the first collision. Instead, it turns around and swims away completely. In the Fiji Islands, a brave underwater film crew were just trying to do their job when a rather big tiger shark tried to let them know who's boss. As the beast swims down from above, the men attempt to make the most of this close encounter by capturing as much footage of the shark as possible. The unexpected happens when the animal, probably feeling a bit hungry, approaches one of the divers and tries to bite his hands right off. Out of shock, the man quickly backs off. Fearing that it might make another attempt, the diver does his absolute best to remain face to face with the beast as it now begins circling around him. A few stressful minutes go by when the shark finally decides to spare the men and swim away. They all look at each other in disbelief of what just happened. Those divers were very lucky to capture such footage without getting bitten, injured, or worse. This clip starts off rather intensely as these unlucky cage divers suddenly get attacked by a great white shark. They all continue screaming at the top of their lungs as the vicious predator keeps trying to get to the meal inside. The nightmare goes on for many more minutes until the animal finally decides to leave them alone and swim away completely. Near St. George Island, YouTuber Grayshep went out on an exciting spearfishing trip when he unfortunately became the unlucky target of a hungry great white shark. Before anything, he spends his time swimming around the bottom of the ocean and even manages to successfully catch a few fish. After a while, though, he feels like he's done enough and decides to swim back up to his boat when he suddenly feels something swimming beneath him. Now, fearing for his safety, he immediately reloads his spear gun and does his best to stay alert of his surroundings when the predator, unfortunately, decides to come back.
There's a gray white here.
Understanding the danger of the situation, his friends quickly help him get back on the boat, and they all attempt to process what just happened. Near the coast of Mozambique, a group of divers had their day take a horrifying turn as they were unexpectedly circled by a rather curious great white shark. Initially, they appear to be peacefully enjoying the ocean floor when they suddenly spot something to their left. The divers keep nervously recording the predator as it continues to swim around them, seemingly plotting something. With the shark still suspiciously lurking nearby, they all unfortunately decide to stop recording, and what happens next remains unknown. YouTuber M. Hakim was on an ordinary dive at Brothers Island in Egypt when a member of his crew got extremely unlucky. At first it seems like an average shark encounter where nothing bad usually happens. Unfortunately, things go south rather quickly when the shark begins circling around one of the divers. Feeling threatened, the man tries to swim away from the predator as it suddenly attempts to take a bite out of his foot. Luckily, it fails in doing so and calmly swims away like nothing happened. The divers now begin to seriously worry about their safety. Just a few minutes later, the shark comes right back for the same guy and attempts to bite his face off. He does everything in his power to fight the beast off as it keeps coming back at him. Thankfully, the man is able to land a powerful punch on the shark's face that scares it away. Truly anything is possible in the ocean, and you should always be prepared to fight for your life, like this man did. What would you do if a shark came that close to you? Would you swim away or fight it off? While fishing at sea on an 8-foot kayak, this man unfortunately hauled in a little more than he bargained for. At the start of the video, the fisherman reveals that his catch is quite heavy, and so he suspects that it might be a shark.
He's down there. He's big. Now, I'm letting him twist me because I don't want to go too quickly or else he'll flip me. I'm only in an 8-foot kayak. I'm not in a kayak that's designed to be fishing in, I'll tell you that.
He carefully reels it in for a while, and when the catch comes close to the surface, he confirms that it is indeed a tiger shark, one big enough to overturn his kayak.
See that tiger shark right there? I'm gonna have to cut this line right here real soon, right?
After bringing the majestic beast to the surface for a closer look, the brave man decides to let it go, afraid that its strength might flip over his kayak. Somewhere along the South African coast, two kayakers received a visit from a terrifying, unexpected guest. In the beginning, one of the two men notices a 13-foot great white shark approaching, so he gets out his camera and starts recording.
I want to get him on camera. Is he still there? Oh, yeah, I can see him.
For quite some time, the predator is seen circling around their kayaks, coming dangerously close to them multiple times. Regardless, the two daring men try to remain calm and even put bait into the water to further entice the animal, but somehow fail to realize that they are bait themselves.
Oh, yeah, he comes again.
After circling the kayaks for a little longer, the shark eventually goes back to minding its own business and leaves them alone for good. Somewhere in Guadeloupe, a diver got a little more than he bargained for when he attracted the attention of a great white shark while cage diving. In the beginning, all seems to be going well as the diver observes the large animal from a distance. Unfortunately, the shark quickly spots the cage and decides to come get a closer look when this happens. When the cage bars fail to give way, the determined predator circles the cage and now attacks the bars on the other side. Luckily for the diver, the animal seems to lose interest after the second failed attempt and is seen swimming away.